I'm a philosopher by training, and so it takes an awful lot for me to get head up and emotional in a conversation, because people usually say things because they believe it. And you start out with where they are and you say, okay, well, do you seriously believe that? And if it turns out that they do, then you have to ask, well, we disagree. Can we isolate more precisely the basis of our disagreement? Which specific questions would we have to resolve in order to get to the bottom of something? Now, this is not to say that, you want to cultivate a Vulcan attitude to everything. There is actually wisdom in emotional responses to things. If there are things that are said, that are done, that make you angry, that rub you up the wrong way, that make you feel bad, that hurt to watch, then you have to ask yourself, well, look, is the hurt that I experience in that a sort of rational response to somebody in fact doing the wrong thing, or have I overreacted? My emotional responses are not always correct, but they're frequently relevant, and they're frequently important clues to morally relevant features of a situation, things that we need to talk about.
Managing emotions is a very relevant subject here, because some people will take a disagreement with their view very personally or be readily offended, and I think it's important to know yourself in terms of what your triggers and thresholds are, but also try to understand other people. I think it's always better to try and give people the benefit of the doubt, try and be empathetic, try and put yourself in the shoes of others. But when it comes to your own emotions, if you are feeling overwhelmed or upset by what is being put to you, sometimes you just need to take some time out and actually extricate yourself from that position and that situation. If you can't deflect or sort of put the conversation onto another course, it may just be better to step away from it, or to take a few deep breaths, or try and take a position, sort of a more background position. Sometimes, depending on your comfort level with this, it may actually be appropriate to say, well, actually I find that a very hurtful comment, or you realise you've offended me in what you've said, and to name up what is troubling you, because others may not actually be aware of the impact of what they're saying. People's intent in communication and the impact of what they say are not always the same thing, and one needs to be mindful of this in one's own life, that people may interpret what you say in a different way to what you think the meaning of it is. So it's trying to be sensitive to watching people's body language, but also mindful of your own, because we can send a lot of communication just through body language if we're disagreeing with something, and the crossed arms and the eye rolling and the shaking of the head and so on. So if you want to have a conversation with someone and not put them off, you need to be mindful of that. But it's certainly important to monitor your own emotions, and where necessary, check in with yourself, or remove yourself, and then even if necessary check in with others to debrief and get some support if you really are feeling bad about some interaction that's occurred.
So I'm a classic conflict avoider. I really dislike tension and aggressiveness. Even assertiveness bothers me in a discussion. And so I have to really, in a discussion where people have strong opinions that are not aligned, I have to manage myself quite actively, which means for me making sure that I remember that it's the ideas that are the thing that we're focusing on, it's not a personal attack, and that not to fear that the person I'm talking with will think that I'm attacking them if I'm not agreeing with their particular point of view. The other thing I do is I pay attention to my body. So when my heart rate goes up to more than 100 beats a minute, there's research that says if your heart rate's up that high, you're in a state of fight or flight, and you're absolutely not able to be rational, be able to take on board what people are saying. You're too busy thinking you're under attack and deciding whether you'll defend yourself or attack back. And so something that a very simple technique that I use is, if I'm in that state, I just go, okay, I'm in this state, it's actually not okay to keep talking right now, I need to calm down, I need to let the other person calm down. And simple thing like taking 15 minutes to get everybody calmed down, you can have a completely different conversation soon after you've had that break. But other things, even if it's not that dire and I'm not in a state of fight or flight, but it is quite tense, I just remember to breathe nice and slow and deep, to keep thinking about the person that I'm talking to, that I value them, that they're a human being who is essentially precious and needs to be listened to, need to validate the emotions that they're experiencing, even if I don't quite understand why they're so upset with the ideas that I'm promoting. They're just simple things I do in a discussion where it gets a bit heated. I suppose in summary, I think it's really, discussions can be very exciting and energising when they're passionate, but there's a step beyond passionate advocacy where you end up being a bit of a troll, either certainly online, but you can be very unpleasant and quite rude if you allow the feelings of being upset to take over the engagement with the ideas that are being discussed.